Well, welcome to 132 Lab 8. I'm Tim. I'm the lab technician for back here in the back. I am going to take you through a step-by-step instruction on how to use the Ridgid 300. This is a $5,000 piece of equipment, so we do want to be sure that every student that uses this is, one, safety conscious, two, understands all of the equipment that needs to be used on this, and the third thing is please do not rush and do something that you're not absolutely positively sure that you need to do on this. Ask for some assistance. Otherwise, it could cost us a great deal of money. It's a very sensitive piece of equipment, but it's a very useful piece of equipment as you're doing air conditioning for gas pipe, or if you're doing plumbing work, depending on the circumstances. Now, your book and the section that you're reading goes into a little bit of detail of how to use a handheld. This is a power threader. These you will probably see on big job sites, but not small ones. But the principle of using a handheld is the same as using a power feeder. First of all, let me explain some things here. One, do not skip a step in the instructions that you have in your hands at this moment. But what you do need to know is when you are ready to use this, there's certain safety factors that have to be met. One, myself and the instructors are the only ones that have this key. This key, or excuse me, the lock will need to be removed before you can use this. This is a safety factor because if it's plugged in and somebody didn't turn it off properly, it will feed as soon as you step on this pedal. Once you're completed with that, put the lock together as such and just set it on the stand over here out of the way. The second thing you want to do is come over to the plug. Now, depending on where you're using it in the classroom, you're going to have to run an extension cord. So always constantly think about that. You want to run the extension cord the least amount of distance so that people aren't stepping on it. Plug it in, set it down. The next thing, your task in this lab is you're going to cut, ream, and thread one piece of pipe. That's all you need to know about it at this present moment. But to do that, you have to understand the piece of equipment that you're working with. First of all, let me explain to you some of the tools. This is a oil gun that is self-fed. We clean the oil once a semester. It will pump automatically as you squeeze the trigger. So when you're done with it, be sure that the handle is over the drip pan so it recycles the oil. The next thing that you want to understand is the clamps itself, or the hold down vices. Now there's two of them here, depending on the size of the pipe that you're working with, and when I say the size, the length. The first one is up front. The second one is in the back. They both look the same, except of course the back one is just a smaller version of it. So example, if you have a long pipe, you will feed it through the front all the way through to the back, and it may extend out 15 feet. It doesn't matter. But what is important is as you center this, if you just turn the knob, the jaws will open up or close. You want those jaws to center on your pipe, just like that. Do not have it like this and close it up. That is wrong. Open it up, readjust, center your pipe. Once that's tight, or once that's firmed up, all you have to do is hit it a couple times. At no time will you use any sort of tools on this system. The other way is in the back. Now the jaws work the same way. One way opens, one way closes, and it's written right on the top here. All you have to do is firm it up. What that does is prevents it from being warped as you're turning it if it's a long piece of pipe. All right? For demonstration purposes, we are going to use just a short piece of pipe like you will be using in the exercise. Now, once you understand the jaw makeup, and remember, at no time will you ever turn this piece of equipment on without an instructor or lab tech watching every step you're doing. Up here we have the three main tools. Up here we have your pipe cutter. All right? This is nothing more than a big pipe cutter on steroids. All right? And it's designed to cut the steel pipe. The next thing we have is our threader. And finally, the reamer. All right, now this threader, we have it set up in this classroom to do 1/2 inch and 3/4. You can buy larger teeth, but we don't use it for that circumstance for the cost of pipe right now and for training purposes. We are going to go through each one of these, and the way I show you is exactly the way you're going to do it in the lab. So the first thing we want to do is, you notice that pipe normally will come. Now, this is not necessarily true in the classroom, but it always has some sort of plastic caps on the end. Now, you also notice that I'm not wearing gloves. You don't wear gloves around a threader. If you have to go out and retrieve pipe and stuff like that, especially in Arizona, wear your gloves. This, if it's sitting out in the sun, this will scorch your hands and leave a mark on them. Trust me, been there, done that. So what you want to do is, and depending on your situation in the classroom, you may have a piece that's only 12 inches long. That's fine, it's only training. So remember, feed it through, and if it happens to go out the back, then you're going to have to use the vise in the back as well, and in this case mine does. All right, I want to ensure that my jaws are set properly. I firm it up, 2 rotations, and kind of torque it down. In this case, my pipe goes past, so I have to firm that up. I don't want to see anybody with a wrench on this. All right? If you do just what I ask, you're not going to have a problem. All right, the cutter. Now the cutter comes down. Now in the front, okay, in the front here, you're going to see 2 wheels and the cutting bit. In here, these 2 wheels must be support by this pipe. Then you'll see your cutting wheel here. All right. Ensure that both of those wheels are thoroughly on your pipe here. And remember, be very careful when you're touching this. This is razor sharp. All right. This is what you want to do. Now you're going to cut off 1 inch or 2 just for practice purposes. But what you want to do is you want to firm it up. Be sure it's tight. Then what you want to do is you want to take your oil feeder and squirt 1 squirt of oil on there. Now when you're cutting the pipe, not threading, but cutting the pipe, you only need 1 squirt. And as I go walk through this, you'll understand what I'm doing. Now, once that is set up, you're ready to go. On the side here where I'm at, you will see an off switch, a forward switch, and a reverse switch. We're going to do it in forward mode right now. So all you have to do is push it and be sure it catches. Once that's accomplished, you have your foot pedal down here, and it just depends on if you're right-handed. You might feel comfortable using your left foot or your right foot. It doesn't matter. But at this point, what you're going to do is you're going to put your pressure on the foot and squeeze down on the pedal. As you do that, the bar is going to start rotating. Now remember that as it rotates, after it completes two 360-degree circles, you will turn this handle clockwise 90 degrees. And you will continue to do that after each 360-degree circle until such time as that piece is cut off. Now I'll show you what I'm talking about. My foot's down on my pedal. My pipe is secured. My cutting tool isn't secured, and my switch is in the forward position. I turn it on. I let it rotate. I turn it 90 degrees. You notice that I am not forcing anything. Once the object has been cut, I let my pressure off the foot pedal and allow it to come to a complete stop. I just open up my vise and I lift it and get it up out of the way. That's step one. And no matter if you're doing one cutting thread or you're doing 200 feet of threading, it all works the same process. The next thing is our reamer. Our reamer drops down and secures here. Now this reamer is a little special because it can do either close work or it can be put far away. It just depends on the individual that's working with that. In this case, I have enough room, I can slide that forward, and it's easier for me to do that. Be sure that you lock it in. You cannot go half the distance. As you notice, it just slides back and forth. So it'll lock into place and it will stay into place. Now I have my handle down here. Now this reamer will ream very easily. You do not have to put a great deal of pressure on it. But be sure that your reamer is away from your work prior to starting. Again, you go back to your foot pedal. I want my pipe to start rotating first, and then I will apply and let it slide in, center itself, and I will apply a little bit of pressure. Now if you look at your pipe, you can see where the reaming has been accomplished. Now you notice that I didn't make the walls real thin or anything. All I did was got rid of the burrs that were inside of that. Now I remove my reamer, slide it back to the preset position, raise it up and get it out of the way. Now the final process is doing my cutting head. My cutting head will come right down on top. Again, you want to slide it forward just about where it can touch. Now on the top here, you will see where it is marked 1/2 inch, 3/4, 1.5, 1.25, different diameters of pipe. Ensure that you're working with the right size diameter pipe. In this case, it's 1/2 inch. Now this handle right here, it's either open or closed. If it's open, it pulls the teeth back, as you can see here. Closed, opened, closed, opened. Now, if for some reason you get a piece that's 3/4 inch, then this handle comes into play right here. Pull down on it, and you can see where your lever slides back and forth. That changes the size of the head. And remember, I told you at the beginning we only have 1/2 inch and 3/4 in this situation. That's fine. If you're doing other sizes, you can change the teeth and the cutting head. We're not concerned about that right now. So I know that I'm dealing with 1/2 inch, so I come back here, tighten it down. I want to check to be sure everything works. I don't want to be right up against my work right here. I pull back and I drop it down into the lock position. That means when I come up here, it's going to start threading when I start applying pressure here. Now this is where people get into trouble. If you're not paying attention to what you're doing, and here you're going to do 3 different things at one time. You're going to have your foot on the pedal, your hand on the arm bringing it in, and you're going to be putting oil on this constantly. That means all the time I want to keep pumping oil on this until I'm done cutting threads. Now, when do I know when I'm done cutting threads? When my front of my pipe gets to the last tooth here, then I am done. All right? So as we explain it to you, I'll show you what we're doing here. So you want to get situated where you're comfortable. You may have to move the foot pedal around or some other things. You want to check to be sure you're still in the forward position. All your other tools are out of the way. This is your head is locked into position, so it isn't going to go anywhere. You start by putting some oil on the head or on the pipe there. You bring your head up, your cutting head, right up to next to the pipe. And remember, you're going to have to put a little pressure, not a great deal, onto the threads, the head cutter, to get it started. Once it gets started, you will be able to oil it and hold the threads so it doesn't get away on you. So it's a little coordination. Foot pedal, I turn it on. I bring up my handle, my cutting head, I squeeze oil on it. As soon as I start cutting threads, I apply a little bit of pressure. I can lighten up on the pressure because now it's going to walk itself through there. You notice it's coming right to the end. And let up on the pressure. Now sometimes that takes a little talent of getting coordinated there, but it will come, and there's no real harm if you go too far past that. A couple threads, but if you go too far you can break the bits. Now remember I was telling you you can open this up and you'll free the head. Typically that's the easiest way to do this. The thing is when you do that, you have metal shavings still left on there. All right? What I suggest that you do, and see what happens is when you try to get it back down in there, it won't go. All right? So what you need to do is pull it away, and you have a wire brush. Holding on to it, you wire off all the excess. Now, the other option, and I like it better, is when you, instead of lifting up on this head, just keep it down, and I'll see if we can't do that. And turn it off, turn it to reverse. Now it's going to reverse the operation. It's all back down, it's in there. I've got the oil in one hand. Now I'm reversing the operation, applying a little bit of pressure. I'm always adding oil to it. Now, the reason I like this, and a lot of professionals that do this all the time, is because it cleans the threads as it's pulling it back. Otherwise, you can have some leftover threading material on your pipes, and it's much harder to connect the pipe to the connector. Now, you also notice that my drip pan is always underneath my work. If not, it's going to look like a Valdez leak on the floor here, and you're going to end up cleaning it up. There goes the project as what you're going to be required to do. You're going to have, you've cut it, you've reamed it, and now you've threaded it. To pass this operation, you must be able to do those 3 tasks correctly without losing the threads. Now, If for some reason when you're doing this exercise, threads aren't coming out right, for instance, you need to bring that attention to me specifically, because more than likely the heads need to be changed. It's a key indicator that the head was misused, or it's just cut so many threads that it's time to be replaced. Again, very successful tool. When you're done and you've got your head up, turn it off so we don't have any accidents. When this is finished, ensure that you let the staff know so we can relock this out to OSHA standards. You're going to have to clean all this equipment. We have the paper towels or rags or whatever it takes to do that. Then you want to pull this out. And again, just open it up, slide it out, and again, you will have at least 11 or 12 inches of pipe to work with. We're only going to keep cutting it off until we have nothing to work with. If you get the pipe too short, and they call these nipples, in this case this would be probably about an 18-inch nipple. We are not going to go any lower than probably 8 inches in making nipples, because what happens is the pipe vise does not hold the pipe correctly, and it'll start twisting and it'll ruin the machine. That's why normally when you go to cut pipe, you will do it larger than 2-foot pieces. That's just the way you can buy your nipples from 2 feet down by store, because they have a special machine. It's the same concept, it's just a special machine that can grip it a lot better. So now we know how to do cutting thread. It's a very simple process, but you have to pay attention to what you're doing. If you are going to start playing around and touching this stuff, always be sure that you got the plastic safety cap. Reapply the safety cap when you're in travel, or if you're stacking the stuff up to be worked on later, because what you don't want is moisture in here if you can prevent it. The second thing is you don't want your threads damaged, because if this is, in this case, this is gas pipe. The gas pipe, if the threads are damaged, of course it's going to leak. And the problem with gas pipe is once you put it all together and you get it down to the very end, and then you do a leak check and you find out that the pipe at the very first or halfway in the system is broken, you have to disassemble that whole system, all right, to that point where it's broken. So therefore, safety is our utmost concern. Keeping the environment clean around the area, and understand you're going to be working where there's going to be students walking around all the time. Some of them are going to try to get nosy. Just ask them to step away, because you have to concentrate on this. Again, you will not, and I emphasize will not, use this machine until you have shown your competency of how to use it through a walkthrough method prior to cutting it. And then as you do your cutting, your reaming, and your threading, each step of the way you will let someone know in here, the staff or faculty, that you're about to do that, so we can check you out. All right, it's not that we don't trust you. We want to be sure that the equipment and you do not get injured. All right, I hope that if you have any questions, let us know, and we'll take care of it and answer it for you person to person. If you are out of rags or out of oil for some reason, or the pipe is, there's something wrong, you have to bring it to our attention. In the next lab, you're going to do Teflon wraps and pipe dope. Your pipe dope is going to be in the can that's in the toolbox down here. Now, this toolbox is also used for another course, so do not get the parts confused. That will be up underneath the table when you come down here. The tripod, you'll find it, and we'll try to work around that. I hope that resolves any problems. If you have any questions, please bring it to anybody's attention, and we'll take care of it for you. Thank you.